with yet another brother combo in Jaguar football history, the Sykoras. We got Brian and Dave. Appreciate it, guys. Start with you, Dave. Growing up in Bloomington, when did you realize you wanted to be a Jaguar football player? I'm sure the coaches had an eye on you from a very early age too, but what about football? What about the game of football were you drawn to?
Well, it all started in BAA. I started playing in fourth grade and really enjoyed it. We had some great dads coaching us and actually did really well our very first year. We won the BAA city championship and kind of just ever fell in love with the game since then.
How about you, Brian? You watched your big brother throughout his football journey. What about the game was something that you wanted to be a part of?
Absolutely, yeah, no. Starting out at BA, same age, third grade, maybe fourth grade, and just getting after it and having a lot of success. Obviously, going to his games, and really it was, I think when you got into middle school and high school was where I really saw the excitement of the game. The fanfare, the crowds got bigger. Obviously getting over to Lincoln and playing underneath the lights is, quite a spectacle as a little kid growing up, seeing that. And I think you're just naturally drawn to it when you have, family that plays the sport and is in the program. You just kind of naturally follow in their footsteps.
Dave, what was it like the first time you stepped out on Bloomington Stadium field and you had the Jaguar colors on and you were a Jaguar football player?
It was a little intimidating, as I was, the first time would have been my sophomore year. I played up on varsity as a sophomore, and I want to say we opened up the season with a non-conference game against, I want to say, Cretan. That was a pretty good squad from the year before, and they were expecting good things that year. So it was quite a introduction to Friday Night Lights. But I had a pretty good game and found out very shortly that I could, play with the older kids and hold my own, and it became just a whole lot of fun and not that intimidating.
Brian, what do you remember about watching your older brother at Bloomington Stadium? I'd imagine it'd be inspiring as a kid that also wanted to play football one day.
Definitely, yeah, no, going to the games and sitting in the student section, even though I wasn't a student at the high school yet, but yet still, just being a diehard fan and just, cheering for, the touchdowns and, in anguish when they weren't doing well. Really living and dying with the team and how they did. Was really impactful, obviously, in my early on and before getting a chance to obviously play. Was really cool to be able to see that and how he did it. So.
Dave, who were some of the coaches that had a big impact on your life during your high school days and really helped you get to a place football-wise that you ended up being noticed by some pretty big programs, including the one you went to at the U?
Coach Carlson being my position coach when I was there really had the biggest impact on my overall development, but both Stan Shea and Coach Leverance were, who were also former Gophers, had a lot to do with everything that I became and did.
You mentioned you were pretty nervous as a sophomore getting in. When did you realize, hey, I'm pretty good at this thing and I can take it to an even higher level, which you did?
I think probably in between my sophomore and junior year, I went to some football camps at Big Ten colleges. I went down to Iowa and I went out to Northwestern and really got to see some of the other talent around the country and what, other kids look like from other states, and realized that I could play with them, and, that if I kept working hard and, improving and getting better, that I could, probably make a go out of this at the college level.
Question for both of you. We'll start with you, Brian. You also played at a higher level. So how did the Jefferson program prepare you for success at the collegiate level?
Yeah, great question. Really just, the preparation, the off-season workouts, really attacking it kind of like there isn't any off-season. And so learning to train in the summer, work out, keep your conditioning up is super important, and realizing that it really is a full-time job. If you're going to school and they're paying you to do it, you got to be committed and really love what you're doing. And so, yeah, just that framework from an early on training, even just like a taste of the two-a-days. I know everyone goes through two-a-days, but I really feel like they were kind of similar, the way that they were set up. And I don't know if that was, again, Coach Leverance with his background of being at the U, with that kind of trickled down to us and how he had his program set up. But yeah, there was a lot of likeness between the two programs that I thought were similar.
Anything to add to that, Dave?
Not a whole lot. It was almost like Jefferson was set up just a little differently, being that there was so many coaches on the staff that had also played at a high level after high school and really knew what it took to excel at the high school level and then also prepare you for the next level.
Do you want to talk about any stories on and off the field that you remember from being a Jaguar football player?
Memorable games, or Brian, were you part of the game? Did you play at the week after 9/11? We've hit on that a couple times.
Yeah, I did. 9/11. 2001 was the fall of my senior year, and so we had the whole Thomas Burnett tribute, and we went out as a team, and that was a very just life is bigger than football type moment when you think Friday rolls around and you're here in school and you're wearing your jersey and the only thing that matters is football, and a lot of the times it felt like that, and it was. But yes, when things that impactful happen and you can take a step back, and the whole story, and just how Thomas Burnett, how he was a Jag and what he sacrificed and how heroic and what he sacrificed was just an amazing feat, and so that was certainly I even just have chills, right now, just even thinking about that. So thank you for reminding me, Coach C. That was definitely a more memorable experience at Lincoln and playing Jefferson football.
Ryan, you've also gone into coaching here a bit yourself. Do you think that your time as a Jaguar football and basketball player, and going through that as a student, helped influence you now wanting to give back and do the same thing?
Completely. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with, in terms of, my upbringing, being a basketball and football player here, really having great coaches, being fortunate to be taught and mentored from a really great group. It was fortunate to have that experience, and then being able to turn around and give back and contribute, obviously, to the growing youth here in Bloomington. Any way I can to help, get those guys right on the basketball court. Currently coaching the sophomores at Jefferson, and really enjoy it, just being back here in the early part of fall and throughout the winter. It's a great experience.
Dave, I've probably watched this game at least 50 times, but you were part of a Gopher team that won at Penn State, a win that I think really helped turn that program, who hadn't had a winning season in forever, and now, since that year, they basically almost every year a winning team and in a bowl game. What was it like to be a part of those teams that really turned around the program? And I remember seeing you in that stadium. So what do you remember about that game, being on the field for that big win?
What I remember most, and I got to play at quite a few of the Big Ten stadiums, and although Penn State, the capacity isn't the largest in the Big Ten, it's the loudest. The way the stadium is set up, it is much more vertical than, say, the Big House or even Ohio State. So even though it's 10, 20,000 less people than some of those other stadiums, it's by far the loudest stadium just because the fans are so vertical and right on top of you. And that stupid cat screech that they make whenever they get a first down were some of the memories I have from that game. But we had the crazy catch off the shoe, to get us down in a field goal rain, and then we made the field goal at the end to what I think they were number 2 in the country at the time, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so that was quite a fun day.
There was a bunch of Jaguars that were a part of that program kind of during that time. You had you and Justin Hall and the Brinkhouse brothers. What was it like to be kind of a part of a group of in time where, as a student at the U during that time, I got to see a lot of current and former Jaguars go on and play for the U. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was neat to be able to play with some of the guys that I played with in high school. When I took my official visit there, Justin was my host and showed me around, and we had a good time. And it just never helps to at least know one guy where you're going.
There was a time, because I'd go, that the Minnesota high school with the most players on the roster was us, from Minnesota, which was pretty cool. Then any other games, memorable games you guys played in? I know, Dave, I want to say your junior year. I think that was the year we beat Eden Prairie twice in 10 days.
So I'm pretty sure that was our sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Yeah. What if there's any other games those were all these D1 guys.
Yeah, that was Kaepernick, going to Michigan.
Michigan, Kaepernick. What's his name? The running back.
Foreman, McFadden.
And Kapsner, I think, was the quarterback.
Kapsner was the line. They had a big lineman.
Mark LaVore.
Or Derek Burns, who went to the U.
Yeah.
As well.
So if there's any games or like off-field stuff that you guys would do, or post-game, or summer.
2 games that jump out at me were the 2 games that I was on the field when we played at the Metrodome. So as a freshman, I got to suit up for the playoffs. What that would have been in the fall of '94, and we made it to state. Unfortunately, I got my knee blown out by my teammate, and had just come off of. Got out of the hospital and was in a wheelchair, but I was on the sideline for that state game, that semifinal state game. When was it? Alexandria, yeah. So that was, that was my first time ever being on the Metrodome sideline. And then our senior year, we were supposed to play at Eden Prairie on a Friday night, but got lightning storm came in, game got canceled, and I don't know what they had going on at their stadium the next day where it wasn't available, but some phone calls were made, and we ended up getting to play Eden Prairie down at the Dome on Saturday. So those were some unique experiences that, you know, a lot of high school kids don't get to experience.
What about you, Brian? Big plays, big memories.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a few, at Lincoln. I think my senior year against Chaska, at Chaska, I kind of had a game-winning catch. I had to wrestle away from some guys and was in a bit of a hog pile. And whether was it a catch, I don't know if it was or wasn't a catch, but they called it a touchdown. That was a pretty exciting moment. I remember some tough section games against Apple Valley, Trevor Laws. I think he ended up going to Notre Dame. He was just an absolute tree trunk. I mean, he was, I had mentioned Mark Lavore from Eden Prairie my sophomore year. He was a senior. That was probably the thickest, toughest, most stout person I had gone against until Trevor Laws, just being a all-state wrestler and offensive tackle or guard, and would pull, and being a D end would just get blown out of the hole. But some fun times and fun memories, absolutely.